观众朋友大家好，欢迎收看本期的最佳方案。日本呢是世界上最长寿的民族，这已经是众所周知的事实了。但是呢，在过去20多年中，日本销量最大的保健品是什么呢？很多人就不一定知道了。从今天开始啊，我们将制作一些节目向大家介绍这种保健品。它同时呢，也是一种被称为营养之王和排毒圣品的一种神奇的食品。2位诺贝尔得主呢曾经研究过它，美国航空航天局呢曾经指定它为宇航员的食品。养生学家说它催生了一个细胞养生的新概念，那它到底是什么呢？谜底马上就要揭开。
Chlorella is a form of an algae. An algae is a plant, and it is a green plant, which means that it contains chlorophyll, and it can make its own food. Chlorella is a single-celled algae, so you can only see it under a microscope. It is that small, but it has the ability to survive. Chlorella was first noticed by a researcher in 1890, a long time ago, but nothing much was made of it after it was discovered until around the 1930s or 40s, when both in Japan and in Germany, those were the two places that became fascinated by chlorella because they were looking for ways to create protein and food for large numbers of people, and to do so inexpensively.
German scientist Otto Warburg, Melvin Calvin was here in the United States at the University of Berkeley, and they were interested in chlorella because of its rapidly growing ability. So from their initial work, and both of these scientists won Nobel Prize in some of their work on plants, there were organizations that became interested in this cause of feeding the world. So there was the Rockefeller Institute, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford University, as well as Berkeley. And they all began to study chlorella because it's a plant, it's very high in nutrition, as a possible food source to help feed the world.
And soon thereafter, chlorella became commercially available to the public. Chlorella, first of all, is a fabulous food. It is extremely nourishing. In fact, you can survive on chlorella alone if you had to, because it just contains everything. It contains, of course, protein, but it contains the most protein of any food in the world, ounce for ounce, more protein. It contains more DNA, RNA, the nucleic acids, than any other food in the world by far. And it contains the highest amount of chlorophyll of any food, or for that matter, of any algae. It has the most chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is a natural antioxidant, so therefore chlorella is very, very rich in antioxidants.
Antioxidants are a big category of nutrients that people are trying to get these days. Chlorella contains most all the B vitamins, so that would be B6, B12, folic acid. It contains many minerals, including magnesium and zinc and phosphorus. Sun chlorella contains beta carotene, it contains vitamin E, it contains lutein, other antioxidants as well. It contains fiber, which is primarily a nutritional element for the digestive system. It is also a detoxifier for our bodies. One of the things that fiber does is it helps keep what we call the bacteria balance in our digestive system. And these bacteria have to be in a healthy balance, which means we want more of the good guys, less of the bad guys. So that's why I consider sun chlorella to be a nutritional element for the digestive system, because there is research that shows it helps the good bacteria grow, develop, and establish itself in our digestive systems. NASA actually used it to feed astronauts and astronauts in training and they were very pleased with its ability to, not just nourish people, because a lot of foods can nourish people, but it nourishes people in a very nutrient-dense fashion, which means it doesn't take a lot. So NASA was very interested because they have to keep their quantities small.
A few years ago, and I, being a nutritionist for so many years, I myself did not know that there is a true vitamin B12 and a false vitamin B12. So some foods contain a vitamin B12 that has no activity in the body. So we did studies in Japan that showed that sun chlorella, the pyrenoidosa, contains the true vitamin B12. Well, why is vitamin B12 important? For two reasons. It increases energy, and it provides, in terms of chemistry, something we call methyl groups. It provides methylation. Methylation is one of the most important processes in the human body. Methylation works directly on, remember, the epigenes that I spoke about. Well, chlorella has the good B12 that can help with methylation, and folic acid as well to help the body with methylation.
Chlorella, the plant, actually gets to quadruple in under 24 hours. And there are certain components that the plant contains which helps it grow that quickly. Those, interestingly, are the same nutrients that helps our body to repair, regenerate, and restore itself. The human body is really unique and fascinating in its ability to repair itself. So people know if you cut your skin, it just grows back together. If we break a bone, it just mends itself. And all it needs to do those repair processes are the nutrients. So I love sun chlorella because it contains a wide array of nutritional building blocks. And that's why it's so valuable for the human body, because that's what our bodies need in order to stay healthy.
So the research has shown that chlorella is extremely nutritious. It's loaded with nutrients.
上个世纪啊，科学家呢曾经把小球藻呢视为解决未来人类粮食危机的一个出路，并投入极大的热情来研究它。进入21世纪今天呢，粮食短缺的危机虽然没有在世界上大面积的出现，但是我们今天面临的却是一种令许多人还没有意识到的危机。也正是在这样的背景下呢，医学家和营养学家开始从另一个角度重新发现小球藻在新的时代对人类的新价值。
Today we have a very different crisis, and that crisis is quality, food that has quality and food that has nutrition. So there are plenty of studies where they are looking at these commercially grown crops. They are not as nutritious as they used to be because they're grown in mass quantity, mass cultivation. So now we have a crisis where the food doesn't have nutrients. And so chlorella still serves as a food high in nutritional quality, nutritional building blocks, nutrient density. It's a food that doesn't just fill our mouth and fill our belly, but it gives our body the raw materials, the building blocks, the tools that it needs in order to stay healthy, grow, repair, and regenerate.
You know, I've been practicing nutritional medicine now for 40 years. And after a while, I became convinced that vitamins alone are not enough. Minerals alone are not enough. That if you take a vitamin program, it should be together with whole foods, because the whole foods have everything in them to support life. And if you take nutrients by themselves, they will not be incorporated nearly as well as if they're mixed together with whole foods. Well, chlorella is that whole food. And it is one of the best whole foods, in fact, probably the best whole food I have ever seen. In the United States, we eat a lot of processed foods that are not whole foods. So this is a call to go back to what our great-grandparents ate. They didn't process their foods. They didn't have food additives. All they ate were whole foods. And I think they were, in a sense, much healthier because of it. So chlorella is a whole food. Nothing has been stripped of it. Nothing has been taken out of it. Nothing has been added to it. Nothing has been changed. It is exactly as it has been grown. And sun chlorella is grown in reservoirs that are carefully controlled for purity. So there are no additives in the food. So it is, to me, the essential whole food. But not only a whole food, but a whole food with the most of almost everything.
It's a natural food. It grows in nature. And when a person consumes sun chlorella, you're consuming the natural food. So when people consume sun chlorella, they're eating a natural food grown and developed by nature in its whole state. And that's what we mean by a whole food. When I talk about how it's so valuable to nourish people to keep healthy, I will often say Hippocrates said, "Nutrition shall be your medicine." And he really said, "Food shall be your medicine." But I know that he meant nutritious food, or nutrition shall be your medicine. For example, if people eat donuts, that's a food. I don't think he was talking about donuts when he said, "Food shall be your medicine." Sun chlorella would be the perfect example of a nutritious food. Another thing that people don't think of is just simple stress that we deal with in our life. Stress is when it's too much, and oftentimes it's too much, ask anybody, that is a damaging effect to our system. It causes our organs to break down. And another system that suffers tremendously from stress is the immune system. One of the times people tend to not eat as well is when they're busy and when they're stressed. When our bodies are under stress, it's the perfect time to give it the nourishment that sun chlorella contains. I know that in my area of medicine, doctors that are integrative, the majority are happy to give their patients sun chlorella or chlorella. One thing I think people need to know about sun chlorella, it's like all the other things that are good for you, you have to use it on a regular basis. Same thing with sun chlorella. The value and the benefit increases the more regular and the more consistently it's used. And sun chlorella is one of the few nutritional foods and products that you can take on an empty stomach. A lot of vitamins make people sick when they take it without other foods. Sun chlorella is just the opposite.
听了几名医生的介绍啊，这是大涨学问。别着急，小球藻还有更多神奇的好处，今天呢还没有谈到呢，请继续关注我们的后面的节目。好，本期节目就到这里，我们下期节目再见。